you know what? They're willing to be daring this time around, Ryan Pace. That didn't work, but they got Justin Fields. And for me, like you said, Dan, mystical powers, energy is changing. The Bears, to me now, feel watchable. I can't wait to see what they look like. And you don't have to sell us on Andy Dalton for the next 4 months. This is a game changer. The Chicago Bears are interesting again, fellas.
You might have to sell them on you for the first 6 weeks of the season. That's why I'm a little worried about the Bears here, just because of the history. You got a coach and a GM on the hot seat still. They might play Dalton early. Like the Bears, like prove me wrong that you're watching.
Yeah, and we're working under the assumption that Justin Fields is a game-changing star talent. If he can't play, the Bears are going to be still depressing. But
but they went for it though. They went for it versus sitting pat. That's what I'm talking about here.
There's a level of desperation involved too. Like for this brain trust, they needed to bring in something splashy to give themselves some potential job security. Very interesting what's going on there, though. Greg, who changed for you?
The Giants have changed the way I feel. I want to feel differently about the Giants. I mean, the last 6-7 years of the Eli Manning era, what a snore that was. The last couple of years with Daniel Jones haven't been too much better. But adding Kadarius Toney in the first round just to Kenny Golladay earlier in the offseason just spells out how offense and pass heavy this team wants to be. You got Golladay, you got Sterling Shepard, you got Darius Slayton, you got Evan Ingram. I don't think Jason Garrett can mess this up. I don't think Jason Garrett can be running the ball on first and second down every down. I know you get Saquon Barkley back too, but this is going to be a watchable Giants team. Dan, you know they're going to put him in primetime 4 or 5 times, so they might as well be fun to watch.
I mean, yes, you're absolutely right. Certain teams, and we got the schedule release coming up Wednesday. You're going to see the Giants a lot in prime time, but I think Jason Garrett's going to give Saquon the ball a lot early and often. I worry about that offensive line a little bit.
And the quarterback. I mean, you guys are telling me we don't know what Justin Fields would be. We don't know who Daniel Jones is. So,
That's
huge
fair.
TBD on that front.
That's fair. Finally, the Jaguars. I feel differently about the Jaguars, and maybe that's obvious because you have Trevor Lawrence there. But I love this stuff. I love generational quarterback. I love best quarterback to come into the league since Andrew Luck. I want to see this. And the 2017 season when the Jaguars should have went to the Super Bowl and the refs killed him on that call.
Oh, my gosh. Hold on to a 10-point lead, will you, Jaguars defense? Come on.
But then Miles Jack got robbed. But it's like that season, it feels like it existed in another universe. They've been a bore, this organization, in terms of watching for 20 years, and now Trevor Lawrence is here, and he can change everything. Everything. Can't wait to watch him.
He's the type of quarterback that, changes, not just that they're going to be in primetime, but you mentioned just, makes them more entertaining. We're simple people. It's a quarterback league. Justin Herbert's on the Chargers. Want to watch them. If you have a good quarterback as entertaining as Lawrence, you can't be unwatchable. The Jaguars, even when they were good, were pretty up and down because of Blake Bortles.
I mean, also, Dan is only going to favor and be interested in quarterbacks with excellent hair. He views himself to have excellent hair, so there's some shared connection there.
Omar has excellent hair.
Thank you.
I know you're excited, Trevor.
Yeah, sometimes a little out of place. I have to work with the stragglers there, but Trevor Lawrence seems like he has it down pat. He is ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. You can catch much more of these takes on Around the NFL today at 5 o'clock Eastern right here on NFL Network.
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
With the 26th pick, we have Gregory Newsome II.
The Cleveland Browns select Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. The Browns down, baby.
I will see you at 2022 when the Cleveland Browns win the Super Bowl. And I'm out.
So much excitement for the Cleveland Browns. Andrew Berry, the general manager, knocked it out of the park in free agency, rebuilding that secondary, and he added it even more in the draft with Greg Newsome there out of Northwestern at corner. Then that defense got even more help with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Perhaps some questions about his heart led to that fall, but certainly the Browns at this point welcoming that. Aditi Kinkhabwala, we welcome you back here. So much expectations now for the Browns, and it seems like they addressed many, many needs, Aditi.
Well, before we do any of this, though, Omar, let's admit that Andrew Berry won draft day the morning of the draft when his wife gave birth to their third child. Exactly, to their first daughter. Andrew Berry did indeed have a great day. And here's what's so crazy, Omar. The Ravens obviously have a reigning MVP, and not a reigning MVP, but a previous MVP in Lamar Jackson, one of the most dynamic young players. The Steelers are the Steelers, and yet it could very well be the Browns that have the deepest, most loaded roster in the AFC North and could be poised to be the division favorite. Now, why do I say that coming out of the draft? Because Andrew Berry really, truly got to take the best available player with every single selection. The Browns had no significant holes in their roster, and that's something that first-round pick Greg Newsome II actually said the first time that he talked to us after his selection. He said that he was so moved by the fact that cornerback very obviously wasn't a place of need, and yet the Browns still chose him. They have Denzel Ward, who was the number 4 overall pick just a few years ago, and then Greedy Williams, who was their first pick, a draft a couple years ago. Kevin praised the way that Greedy Williams has been working and rehabbing after missing so much of last year with that injury. But look, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, I am going to get that perfect soon. Don't you worry. Daniel Jeremiah had him as one of his top 15 prospects. And Andrew Berry and the Browns medical staff obviously had no concerns over that heart condition that was recently revealed. This is a player that offers a lot of flexibility to what Joe Woods wants to do on defense. And if there was one thing the Browns wanted to do, it was address that defense. That's exactly what they did in just a few minutes. This is a loaded roster, Omar.
Yeah, a lot of expectations now for Joe Woods and that defense. But Owusu-Koramoah, a 15th prospect, to get him at 52, certainly a testament to Andrew Berry and that Browns front office. Meanwhile, the Ravens seemingly always drawing praise for their draft picks. Rashad Bateman going to get a lot of attention, more weapons for Lamar Jackson to rejuvenate that offense after the MVP seasons a couple years ago. Ben Cleveland, Aditi, I think you would agree there, their third-round pick, a guard out of Georgia, looks like a Baltimore Raven. And, of course, Alejandro Villanueva recently bringing him in free agency to really rebuild that offensive line.
Right, and you're hitting exactly the point right here, Omar. There's been so much talk about the Ravens' pass game and how it needs to improve. And as we've listened to general manager Eric DeCosta and head coach John Harbaugh, they've said a lot of that just has to do with schematic changes and involving the passing game in some way. Eric DeCosta went so far as to say, don't insult the wide receivers we have on our roster. We feel good about those wide receivers. And yet the Ravens did indeed go ahead and get a wide receiver in Rashad Bateman with their first-round pick, which many had sort of expected or called for. But the real story, I believe, with the Ravens offseason has been the way that they shored up that offensive line. They went ahead and traded for Kevin Zeitler, which is an upgrade at guard. Then, of course, as you said, they got Al Villanueva, who spent so much time in the AFC North. They will move him to right tackle, something they'll have to do after having traded Orlando Brown. But I'll tell you this. Villanueva is a very, very, very excited about playing for the Ravens. And why? Because the Ravens run the ball. And what is the most fun thing for an offensive lineman to do? Run the ball. The Steelers, the last few years, have not run the ball at all. That means Villanueva has been playing in an offense where he has to read and react, where he's constantly moving backwards, where a pass rusher like Myles Garrett gets to just tee up on him 50, 60 times a game. Now he gets to be the aggressor. He goes to the offense that runs the ball more than anybody else in the NFL. And as much as the Ravens hope to evolve their passing game, they still ultimately will be a running team. Villanueva is very, very excited about that. I can tell you from my conversations with him. And as much as Steelers fans may not like to hear that, it's simply a fact. Of course, we'll go back to the Steelers for just a minute, Omar. They say they're going to run the ball a little bit more, too. We'll see in a few months if that actually happens.
Yeah, still have to develop some of those offensive linemen like we've previously talked about. You're a lucky lady, Aditi. That NFC North, always fascinating to talk about. And if Joe Burrow and the Bengals can come back, even more fascinating in 2021. Thank you very much, Aditi. No comment here. We're talking straight up quarterback competitions. Andy Dalton going to try to hold off Justin Fields. Same story for Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. We're talking about it next on NFL. NFL Now.
The season's open for possibilities. And this spring, the outdoors are in. It's time to see the outside not for what it is, but for all it can be. To go somewhere new, you don't have to log miles. Just open your mind. The place you want to go might be just outside your door. Lowe's. Home to any budget. Home to any possibility.
Did you know Geico could save you hundreds on car insurance and more? So what are you waiting for? World's strongest man, Martins Litzis, to help you break down boxes?
What am I gonna do to you, Box? Let me break it down for you. Oh!
Geico. See all the ways you could save.
Your limits are only as far as your eyes can see. Verilux progressive lenses push those limits, providing seamless transitions from near to far vision. That's seeing no limits. Verilux lenses by Essilor.
Anything that's different isn't always accepted at the beginning.
The best athletes in the world have created new ways of playing the game.
I'm ordering some burritos.
Oh, nice. Oh. Burritos? Get a freshly made footlong from Subway instead, with crisp veggies on freshly baked bread. Just order in the app. Ditch the burgers.
Choose better, be better.
Subway, eat fresh.
As we look to the future, Visa is committed to supporting Black-owned small businesses, ensuring our communities don't just recover, they thrive.
Now more than ever, where you shop matters. So help the home team by shopping local with Visa.
If you're well rested, you're going to perform better.
If you don't get your sleep, your body can't recover. That chip on my shoulder is definitely what's got me to this point, and it's going to stay right there.
Trey Lance is near the top of everyone's draft board.
I'm going to be ready whenever my name is called.
The first ever virtual NFL draft is officially open.
In a relentless world, connected but alone, trapped by illusion. But there is another path, where the battle to belong begins.
This journey.
Let's go, come on!
Pushing me further.
Come on, you can do it!
With Nordic Track, I find greatness. Nordic Track, the home of interactive personal training.
I'm Nate Burleson, and this is Up All Night. All right.
How you getting this? That's crazy.
We're replacing fluff questions with fluffy pillows. I did not expect this at all. To get to what's real. Now we get to the good stuff. Watch the whole series at youtube.com/progressive.
After the dust settles on this year's draft,
he's the ultimate athlete at the position.
Our experts break down which stars are ready to make an impact.
He's going to allow you to be creative with all the things he can do.
Path to the Draft, tonight at 6 on NFL Network.
Immediately, you recognize the talent level is just off the charts.
You can see the athleticism in him early. Sometimes you think he's supernatural.
That's a touchdown for Justin Fields.
I did not know that Justin had a background in baseball.
Just to watch him throw the ball, you knew you had somebody that's pretty special.
He's 6'3", he's 225 pounds, he's smart, he's really, really accurate.
And he's focused, and he's determined, and he works hard.
He's developed a grit and a resolve and a toughness. He'll be a wild success in the NFL because of that.
You know, the team that gets Justin's going to really like what he brings to the table.
The Chicago Bears select Justin Fields, quarterback, Ohio State.
I think the potential's through the roof. He's got a huge ceiling. It's going to be fun.
This is truly special tonight.
Bucky Brooks and Daniel Jeremiah do a fantastic job with that move. The Sticks 360 series. Bucky Brooks joining us now once again alongside Mark Ross. Bucky, we'll start with you. Let's talk about some of these quarterback competitions we're expecting to play out here in training camp between rookies and veterans. First, we'll start with Justin Fields and Andy Dalton. How do you see this one playing out in Chicago?
You know, this is a really interesting one because Andy Dalton is the guy that
we've seen win a ton of games when he's had the opportunity and been surrounded by talent. But he also is a guy where we know what their ceiling is. In Justin Fields, you're getting a dynamic player, something that Chicago really hasn't had. Depending on how quickly Justin Fields can learn this offense and really gain the trust of his teammates and coaches, I think you have to hand the keys to the offense to Justin Fields. He's just a more dynamic, more explosive playmaker at the position in a division where quarterback play is key. Justin Fields gives them a chance to close the gap on the division rivals.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bucky. And this is not just a decision that the head coach is going to make. This is the general manager and also the ownership. So leading into the draft, I saw Chicago as that team that had to make a move to get a quarterback because you couldn't go into the season with Andy Dalton, the fate of your hands if you're Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, the GM, with Andy Dalton as saying, we're going to save the job. So this is all about Justin Fields and the future, but it also, you can't rush him. But this has to be the conversation with the ownership to say, okay, you guys have time with this guy. Don't rush him. You have job. Don't rush him. You have job security. Don't feel like you have to get this guy out there because of that. So it'll be interesting how well Andy Dalton plays. Dalton plays early. If he struggles, do they have to just put Justin out there right away? But it's an entire organizational decision, starting with the ownership to say, what is the right thing to do for our franchise, but also for Justin Fields' development.
Remember the Bears and that QB1 tweet with Andy Dalton might be the most short-lived we have seen in recent NFL history. Meanwhile, in San Francisco, owner Jed York of the 49ers saying he doesn't mind if Trey Lance sits behind Jimmy Garoppolo, not only this season, but next year when Jimmy Garoppolo's contract is expected to expire. Bucky, what do you make of those comments, and what do you expect to see from this quarterback competition?
You know, I actually like this. I think what Jed York has done, he's taken all the pressure off the coaching staff to rush Trey Lance onto the field. Because what we do know is Jimmy Garoppolo has won a lot of games for the San Francisco 49ers. 22-8. They've gone to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo as their QB1. So really, there's no rush to necessarily get Trey Lance on the field. That said, Trey Lance could make this offense nearly indefensible, because what we haven't seen in this running game is a dynamic playmaker at the position that can impact and impose his will with his legs. You add that to a zone running scheme that is already difficult to defend with weapons on the outside like Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle. Good luck trying to defend the San Francisco 49ers when and if Trey Lance gets his opportunity to play quarterback.
Yeah, Bucky, Omar, this is what I was talking about with the Chicago situation. Now the owner is actually coming out and saying these are the expectations. And that's all you want as a GM and a head coach to say, okay, this is what we see in Trey Lance. They probably had tons and tons of discussions before drafting Trey Lance about what the expectations were, how long it would take him to get up to speed. But the interesting thing is that Trey Lance hasn't played. He didn't play last year, just played the one game, and he really needs to play to develop. Quarterbacks only develop so much in practice. So him saying 2 years down the line, that may be a stretch. But Jimmy G wins. The 49ers wins when Jimmy G plays well. So it'll be interesting. If the injury might be the best for everybody, if he does get injured again, to say, okay, well, now Trey has to play and has to develop for the team.
Trey Lance and Justin Fields certainly dominating draft night there on Thursday, round one. Dominating draft week earlier was Julio Jones on the trade block for the Atlanta Falcons. Bucky, what are you saying about Julio Jones potentially being moved?
You know, this is funny because this is to be a debate between coaches and front offices. If you're Arthur Smith, you absolutely want Julio Jones on the field because Julio Jones gives you an opportunity to put a spectacular offense on the field. Because now what you're looking at is Julio Jones on one side, Calvin Ridley on the other side, Kyle Pitts being able to control the middle. You have Hayden Hurst, who is also there, so you can go 12 personnel and really dictate the terms to the defense. If you're Arthur Smith, you want menu. You want all of the items on the menu. However, you're Terry Fontenot, you're like, hey, man, I don't know what the salary cap situation is tough. But on the field, you absolutely want number 11 there because he's a difference-maker and an impact player, even though he's 32 years of age.
You're right, Bucky. And the decision to keep Matt Ryan and not draft a quarterback at number 4, you have to keep Julio because you're not keeping the veteran quarterback and who's kind of on the downward and saying, well, you make it work now. We're going to take away your best playmaker, your Pro Bowl player. That just doesn't make sense as an organization for the coaching staff or for the front office to say we're going to put all in on Matt Ryan, but then take away one of his strengths. So I think you're right. The GM always wants picks, but with the decision made to not take a quarterback at 4, namely Justin Fields, you have to keep Julio Jones on the field to maximize whatever Matt Ryan has left.
You know, Mark, what's interesting about that is, like, I think you had to make both of those decisions at the same time. When you decided to keep Matt Ryan, you had to, at the same time, say, we have to keep Julio Jones, because when Matt Ryan has played at MVP level, it's because all of the weapons around him also played at a high level. It doesn't make sense to remove number 11 because he's so impactful, not only on the entire offense, but on how Matt Ryan plays the game.
Yeah, Pitts and Jones, certainly a fascinating combination there for Matt Ryan. You can check out much more of Bucky Brooks's article on NFL.com/Scouts Notebook. Bucky, Mark, thank you very much. We'll see you just in a little bit. We'll be talking about Aaron Rodgers and the full court press that the Green Bay community is efforting to keep their QB1 in place. That is our one more thing straight ahead on NFL Now.
Your limits are only as far as your eyes can see. Verilux progressive lenses push those limits, providing seamless transitions from near to far vision. That's seeing no limits. Verilux lenses by Essilor.
The season's open for possibilities. And this spring, the outdoors are in. It's time to see the outside not for what it is, but for all it can be. To go somewhere new, you don't have to log miles. Just open your mind. The place you want to go might be just outside your door. Lowe's. Home to any budget. Home to any possibility.
I've travelled all over, telling folks they could save by bundling home and car insurance. But here's the real secret. Eye contact. We just had a moment.
Geico.
If you want to be a winner, then get a turkey footlong from Subway. That's oven-roasted turkey, piled high with crisp veggies on freshly baked bread. So let's get out there and get those footlongs.
Now at Subway, buy 1 footlong in the app and get 150% off. Subway, eat fresh.
We love our new home. There's so much space.
We have a guest room now.
But we have ants.
You're slouching again, Ted.
Expired. Expired. Expired.
Thanks, Aunt Bonnie.
It's a lot of house. I hope you can keep it clean.
At least Geico makes bundling our home and car insurance easy.
Which helps us save a lot of money.
Oh, Teddy, did you get my friend request?
I'll have to check.
Aunt Joni's here.
For bundling made easy, go to geico.com.
As we look to the future, Visa is committed to supporting Black-owned small businesses, ensuring our communities don't just recover, they thrive.
Now more than ever, where you shop matters. So help the home team by shopping local with Visa.
If you're well rested, you're going to perform better.
If you don't get your sleep, your body can't recover. That chip on my shoulder is definitely what's got me to this point, and it's going to stay right there.
Trey Lance is near the top of everyone's draft board.
I'm going to be ready whenever my name is called.
Renting always made sense to me. And then it rained. In the apartment. Sorry, buddy. I also had a landlord who thought he could fix things.
Here we go again.
He could not. Oh, you're gonna do it?
I'll slap some paint on this and cover it right up.
But Rocket Mortgage helped me find the home loan option that works for me, so I could buy a place of my own. Now I don't have a landlord. Or a leaky ceiling.
When you need to throw in the towel on renting, Rocket can.
Rocket. You got any tape?
At Spectrum, we think smart technology could be smarter. So the Spectrum mobile app watches your data for you and lets you switch between plans so saving is easy.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed.
We are a global force for good. Join the movement. Causes that matter. Change lives. Change communities. Change the world.
Birthday in retirement, 37 years of age. I can say, going on the road on the West Coast, I had to look at Alex Smith and Aaron Rodgers doing that draft class. Gave both of those guys the same exact grade. Alex Smith goes number 1, has the career that he has. Aaron Rodgers goes 24, pouts a little bit, but has a decorated career. And now here we are, full circle. Alex Smith is gone, and Aaron Rodgers is trying to be gone from Green Bay.
Alex Smith, the first NFL player I ever interviewed way back in 2005 as a pro. And speaking of that full circle, Bucky, check out what one Green Bay restaurant is doing. Mr. Brew's Tap House is offering Aaron Rodgers and his fiancée, Shailene Woodley, free food and beers for the rest of their lives if Aaron Rodgers comes back for the 2021 season. That, in and of itself, reason to come back, Aaron. Get that situation resolved. For Aditi, Bucky, Mark, it's been great. For everybody else here at NFL Network, have a great weekend.